Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer, so let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
So you go to Sacramento.
Yeah.
How long are you in Sacramento?
I was only there for a year and a half,
And then
I moved to Seattle.
And first of all, I fucking love Seattle. I just have to say, I fucking love that town. My favorite coffee is Cafe Ladro. Is that still open?
Oh, yeah. It's a small chain, so there's a few of them.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fish. That one fish that's only there a certain time of year.
Are you talking about the salmon that they
yeah.
fly in on a special plane from Alaska?
Yes.
Yes. God, why am I blanking on it? Oh my God, it's so expensive. I'll have to look it up. Oh,
And it's
yeah,
there
every
for
day
like
there's
a month, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I want to say the first day it arrives, it's $80 a pound or something crazy like that.
It's ridiculous.
It is, but it's good.
So you end up in Seattle and you've been there since, correct?
Yeah, I've been here almost 15 years.
And do you love, I fucking love that city.
I do. It's an interesting place. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I've become very outdoorsy, and because of that, I cannot leave because I can't think of another city where you could be so close to the mountains.
Right.
And, like, even in the middle of the city, like there's hiking and forest and ocean in the middle of the city. But have you heard of the Seattle freeze?
No, the freeze?
The freeze. It's a big thing, but people who are from here don't know what we're talking about or notice it, but there's a million articles about it. The Seattle freeze is that people here are very nice and very polite to your face.
Right.
But they're not super warm, and they don't want to have they're like, we have all the friends we need. No one will say that to you.
Really?
But it's like everyone's very exclusive. So like coming from California, it was like the more the merrier. We're having a barbecue.
Right.
Bring your friend. And then I moved here and everyone was kind of like, I don't know. Maybe we'll call you again.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very cold, and I don't know anywhere else in the country like this. People say it's because of the
Weather?
Scandinavian roots.
Oh, okay.
Well, the weather, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense because we have so many transplants. Why
Right.
everyone's like this. But when I go to New York or New Orleans or San Francisco, I'm like, oh yeah, people talk to you. Like strangers talk to you. If you're here like at the supermarket in line and you just try to talk to someone in line, they look like super freaked out that you're talking to them.
That is so not New York.
I know. People always ask me if I'm from New York here
Wow.
because I talk to strangers and I am loud.
And you're a Jew.
And I'm a Jew.
I'm telling you right now, when people are like, oh, are you from New York? That is the most anti-Semitic way of saying, like the most, least, like, because it would be every time I would do something and they'd be like, oh, she's too New Yorky, which meant she's too Jewish, you know? And
I've never thought about that.
It's the code for Jewy Jew.
I always took it as a huge compliment.
Yeah. How did you get into food? So how did food become the forefront of
my obsession?
And I read that you ate chicken feet and went to dim sum when you were like 2 and 3 years old. And
yeah.
So your family was creative with food. Like that, you know,
yeah.
I mean, I was so restricted that it was whatever, but
yeah, it was mostly my dad. My mom grew up with a single mom, and so she mostly ate like frozen, you know, Swanson's dinners and stuff like that, and food out of a can. And
wait, what happened to your grandfather?
He left. He was cheating on my grandma.
Fuck him.
Yeah, I know, the bastard, Poppy George. And my grandma would say, back then, if he was cheating on you, you could call the police. So I would call them. I took your mother. I took Marcia. We would walk down to that station and we'd say, hey, what are you going to do about this bum, huh? My husband, the bum. So, yeah, they got a divorce, which I think at that time was pretty unusual.
Yeah.
I think when my mom was like, it must have been in the early 50s, mid-50s. And that grandpa went on to marry another woman. They got divorced because she was a lesbian who came out in the early 60s, which again was really early.
Way ahead of her time.
Way ahead of her time. And then got married again to my grandma Terry, who was there when I was born.
So she got married to another woman.
My grandpa got married 3 times. I don't know if his second wife married another woman, but probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you get back to the food thing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So my mom grew up kind of just eating like hot dogs on the street and Chinese food or whatever.
Right.
And so when she moved to California in the 70s, she said she'd never seen an artichoke before. She never heard of asparagus, like all this stuff. So she said to herself, like, when I have kids, I am not giving them anything out of a can. I don't like that, like the
Oh, I
mushy green
love
beans
that.
or whatever. So, and that was kind of my mom's technique in general for raising us, was to do the opposite of what she had, because she didn't get to do the Girl Scouts or any activity. She was just roaming the streets,
Right.
which I thought was so cool and so
course.
romanticized, because I grew up at the end of a cul-de-sac in the suburbs. Like,
Right.
you know, so that was my mom's idea. And then my dad was just always very adventurous with food, which I always attributed to him being foreign, but I now think it's just him, because a lot of immigrants don't go out and eat all the food of other
Right.
cultures and countries too. But yeah, when I was a kid, my dad was very into, we rarely went out to dinner, but when we did, it was like Korean or dim sum.
That's so cool because, growing up kosher, we could only go to a certain, we would go out on Sunday night, and it was only certain, like my sister and I have a joke that we didn't know there was anything other than vegetable chow mein at a Chinese restaurant until we got out of the fucking house,
Yeah.
But
well, you kind of don't know, like when you leave the house, like, did you have this experience when I went to college the first day in the dorms? I was not sure what to eat because I was embarrassed about the way my family ate, and I thought people would think I was weird, because you're like in this insular thing of like you only know what your family does.
Right. It was, yeah. And I started exploring. I'm like, wow, that cheese looks good on those French fries with the, just,
Yeah.
And we had a garden. Like I grew up in New Jersey, and my parents grew all their own
Tomatoes.
vegetables. I mean, zucchini, eggplant, huge tomatoes. We had a peach tree. I mean, everything. My mother made ratatouille with all the homemade. And I didn't appreciate it
Of course not.
until now. And I'm like, oh God, I could go for one of those tomatoes. All right, so you get really into food. I read that you you are a taco lover.
I am.
And that you fly to California to get tacos. Is that correct?
Yes. And burritos. Seattle does not have good Mexican food. That was so sad when I moved here. I had no idea. I was obsessed with burritos, specifically in San Francisco from this one place called Taqueria Cancun. And when I first moved here, I'll never forget, it was like my burrito 9/11. I went to this little taqueria. It looked like any place I'd ever been to in California. And I took one bite of this burrito, and it had frozen peas and corn in it and cinnamon. And I was just like, ugh,
Gross.
It's gotten a little better up here. But yeah, every time I go to California, I just eat as much Mexican food as I can.
It's so funny because I went to college in 1980, and then in 83, I guess the early 80s is when Mexican food came to the East Coast, like big time. Do you know what I mean? Like they started having big Mexican, and I got a job between my junior and senior year at something Maria's Cantina, and it was my first experience with Mexican food, and I still, to this day, I fucking love it. I love burritos. I love tacos. It's so fucking good. But when I lived in LA, because I lived in LA in the 90s, and I was training for the marathon, I would go on these long runs, and on the way home, my prize was Taco Bell. I don't know what the fuck. I fucking love Taco Bell. The bean burrito, it's so bad for you, right?
Have you been recently, though?
Now, why?
Because so I ate that like crazy in high school and in college, and then I stopped eating fast food. And then I went a few months ago, just like, I don't know. It sounds really good. It is not very good anymore. I mean, it's probably the same,
right?
But like your palate changes.
Right.
Everything has the same texture. It's like somehow the meat and the tortilla, everything's soft. It's very like gummable for old people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't recommend ruining your good memories.
Okay. Well, I never had the meat. Because that's the one thing I got from being kosher. Like, don't eat shitty meat.
Healthy Taco Bell.
I would get the bean burrito or the 8-layer burrito with the beans. It had
7 layers. This isn't
layer.
Hanukkah, just 7 layers. Yeah.
Nice one, Rachel. Okay. So you started your podcast. First of all, which I find, what a fucking great idea.
Thank you.
because when I started my but when I started my podcast, people were asking me, what do you want, for a while, you should do a podcast, but I wanted to do something that I was interested in, which is being fucking annoyed at everything. And so you'll get a question at the end, but, because I do get fucking aggravated at every little thing, especially incompetence and fucking assholeness. But, the idea that, did you start reading about people's last meals? Like, I also want to know, are you a good cook?
Oh, okay. 7-part question. I'll field the first one first. So, yeah, I like you said, I've always been into food, and I was doing a bunch of food writing freelance on the side, just anything to kind of be more into that world. And then one day this was more than 10 years ago, I was researching a story, I don't know what, for radio news. And I ran across this website that listed every last meal of every inmate in Texas that was ever executed.
Right.
And it was like a really old website, like 90s style. Like it looked super ghetto. And I was fascinated by it because some people would get one thing and some people would get 25 things. And almost everybody got fried chicken. And I was like, what is this? And so I just kept thinking about it all the time. What would my last meal be? And I had this running list in my head. I could have whatever I wanted, this long list. And then I would start asking other people, just, friends. And then I did a series where I asked chefs. And then I thought about it, I mean, honestly, for like a decade before I started the podcast. And then I started thinking that it would make a great television show. And I didn't have any connections, but I just was thinking, like, if I had all the money in the world to do whatever show I wanted, I thought it would be cool to interview celebrities about their last meal and then go anywhere in the world to find the best version of that, or go to their mom's kitchen if it's their mom's meatballs.
I love that.
And so then my radio station wanted to start a podcasting division. And so they told everyone in the building, if you have an idea, make a pilot, and then we'll pick 3 pilots to execute and start to make shows. So I instantly was like, oh, I could turn this idea into a podcast. And so I did the pilot and they liked it and we made the show. And mine's the only one of the 3 that is still going.
That's so funny. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, James Beard awarded. You're like
just nominated, but
nominated.
Still, that was amazing.
Fuck that. It's awarded.
I won. Yeah. So the format is I interview a celebrity. I'm going to have you on soon.
I can't wait.
About what they would eat for their last meal. And then based on what they say, I look into the science, the history, the culture of that dish. And I have other experts on. And that can go anywhere from like Chris Ballou, who's the singer of the President of the United States. He wanted macaroni, not macaroni and cheese, but just macaroni with butter and salt. And so I interviewed this guy who is a nursery rhyme historian about what macaroni means in Yankee Doodle. So it can kind of go anywhere.
Fascinating.
So it could be like a very literal history, or it can kind of be a tangent. It's just whatever pops in my mind and whoever I can fucking book.
Oh, shut up. Everyone loves you. The idea of the last meal, where did that come from? Like, who decided someone's going to die, they can pick their last meal? Do you know the history of that?
That's so funny. I have never I can't believe I've never thought of looking into where that started. But there was an article in the New York Times recently that was saying that Americans are obsessed with last meals, that, in other countries where people are executed, because I think there's 40 countries that do it still, other countries aren't as obsessed with this.
Right.
And they were speculating a few things. Number one, since you don't tar and feather people, you don't do it in public anymore. It's like one of the few things that we can kind of hold on to because we allow reporters, which I guess a lot of other countries, they don't cover it.
Right.
And so that's like one of the few things the reporters kind of have to report on is what their last meal was. And yeah, they just say that I think we just are voyeurs and we just, it's like a little bit of like a sick fascination.
Right. It's so, and like, I would have, if I knew I was going to die, I would have no fucking appetite. Wouldn't you have no appetite?
I know. So one thing that happened, so in Texas, they used to let people pick whatever they wanted. And in, what's his name? Prodigy, the rapper, he's passed away since, but he was a guest on my show. And I ended up having, as a secondary guest, this guy who used to cook the last meals in the Texas prisons. And he was an inmate himself. And he said, if somebody wanted lobster, they wouldn't get lobster. He would just take the breading off of fish sticks and
no way.
do shit like that. They would just kind of figure it out. But what happened in Texas, it's been several years now, is you could order whatever you wanted. So this guy ordered like 20 things and then they brought it to him and he wouldn't eat a single bite. It was his kind of middle finger, his last,
right.
I'm not eating this. Like you can. So they used him as the example and they said, that's it. We're not doing this anymore. No more last meals. So now in Texas, you have to eat whatever everyone else is eating in the dining room that day.
No fucking way.
Yeah. And that guy who I interviewed, who was the one who cooked the meals, he's so upset about it. And he's offered to come in anyway and spend his own money to buy the food because he thinks people deserve this one last thing, but they won't do it.
Wow. Is he still an inmate, the guy?
No, he's been out for a while. He owns a diner in Texas.
Now, have you found that depending on the crime, is there anything that correlates with the crime and the meal? Like, do murderers like meat? Do like rapists, is there?
I haven't looked into that because the podcast, we just use the question as a vehicle to have a conversation. Like there's nothing morbid about the podcast. That's the only one where we kind of got into that. So no, I haven't
I wonder
done that kind of research. Yeah. That actually would be very interesting.
Because you know what? I met this woman and she teaches math in the prison system. And she was saying like murderers are great at math. Like homicide.
That's so interesting.
And that depending on the crime, what subject they're good at. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, that makes sense because, they say like a lot of psychopaths and mass murderers are like, oh, he was very charming.
Right. Oh, he was a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like women loved him. And it's like, I think in order to get away with something, you have to be pretty smart and cunning and conniving to come up with these plans. Yeah.
So you said that for your last meal you wanted grainy oysters. Is this correct?
No, grainy?
Not grainy. What? I just wrote oysters, but I know it was briny.
Oh, briny. Yeah, briny.
What is that? What is a briny? Like it just has shit in it? Like what does that mean? Like, all right, can I just say something about oysters for 1 second?
Yeah.
Like, all right, so I'm on Cape Cod right now. We eat oysters all the time. And it's like, all I know is that you get the oyster, and you got the 3 dips. You got the horseradish, you got the vinegar, and something else.
The mignonette.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck to do. And then I act like you're not supposed to chew it. Like, how do you eat a fucking oyster? And then I act like, oh, this is so good. And it's like, no, it's not. It's like shit at the bottom of the ocean. Okay. And then you're not supposed to, are you supposed to chew it? Or you're not supposed to chew it? Like, can you please explain once and for all how to fucking eat an oyster? Go.
I will explain. So yes, you have to chew it because otherwise you've missed the whole experience and it just slides down your throat. And they're so expensive. So like if you're not even chewing it, it's like, what the fuck? But yeah, so and they're not at the bottom of the ocean. They make these, they're not, it's like fairly shallow. I guess it's at the bottom, but yeah, it's not, it's not so they like have these little beds. But here in the Pacific Northwest, we have different oysters than you guys have on the East Coast.
Right.
And I really like the Pacific ones. They're kind of smaller. So there's this event that they do every year off the coast, like maybe an hour and a half outside of Seattle. And it's amazing. There's these 2 little mini buses. They only sell 100 tickets. And on a weeknight, you get on after work and they drive you out to the coast to this beach. And it's lit up with like spotlights on the beach. You get off, they hand you an oyster shucker and a wine glass. And you just go out on the beach and you pull your own oysters and you shuck them yourself. And they have this one wine that they say goes perfectly.
Right.
And they don't have any condiments. So after I went to that event, I've never used condiments again because I felt like putting horseradish or cocktail sauce is like really strong and heavy and it completely drowns out the flavor of the delicate oyster. So if you didn't put those condiments, you would taste the brininess because that's just the liquid in there. That's like the seawater flavor.
Right.
So I learned then they had 4 different oysters that they grew in that area. And some are sweeter, and it's not like tasting wine where you're like, I don't taste hay. I don't taste a burlap sack.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, like Some are sweeter, some are saltier, some are brinier, some are creamier, some are
Right.
crisper. And I like to just taste that because I think it's so good. And they're so kind of precious that, you rarely eat them, that it's like a special treat.
So if I get a plate of oysters, because they have oyster festival here too. All right. So if I get a plate of oysters, I should just take it. And you're not supposed to use the little fork, right? You're supposed to suck it out of the thing. Is that right?
I think you can use the little fork to separate it from the shell because it's holding on with that little muscle. And then, just slurp it. Just let it slurp it and chew it for sure. And then swallow it.
And don't use the other shit.
I'm impressed that you like them because being kosher, you didn't eat them growing
because
up.
I now am on this, I'm on this mission to eat everything I never ate.
Cool.
Yeah, but I live on Cape Cod, part of the year, so it's like it's such a big part of being here. Oysters are here,
Yeah.
Okay, and then you wanted grilled cheese.
Yes.
What kind of cheese?
It's so hard to pick. Oh man. Well, I think most important to me is that you have to cook it slow and low because I had this terrible boyfriend once, the one bad boyfriend I had. And I always put boyfriends to a test. Early in the relationship, I asked them to make me a grilled cheese, but they don't know it's a test. And then it's been true. The better boyfriends have made the better grilled cheeses.
Wow.
I think the most important part is that the inside is super melty and the outside is super toasty. Because this bad boyfriend, he first of all used whole wheat bread, which I do not want on a grilled cheese. And then the inside was when it just gets sweaty, the cheese is just sweating.
Yes, I hate that.
Ugh. So, and then the outside was just kind of burnt and the inside was sweaty. So
And he was a shitty boyfriend.
He was the worst. I've never had a bad boyfriend before or since. He was one of those people, I don't know if you've ever dated someone like this, who at the beginning, they are super dazzled by you. And then they are mad because they want to be the funny one. Have you ever dated anyone like that?
That is interesting.
And I was like, why can't we both be the funny one?
Right. But I think people know already that I'm the funny one. So that I think, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You do it for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my question about cooking a grilled cheese. Now, when my mother made grilled cheese, she would bake it in the oven. Okay.
Yes. Mine did it in the toaster oven. They called it toasted cheese.
Oh, no. Mine did it you would have the bread with the cheese on it, and then you would put it on, once it melted, then you'd put the other half on the other half. Each piece of bread had, okay. But then I had a neighbor who used to make it in a frying pan.
Yes.
She'd put butter, and then she'd put the bread, and then that was so fucking good, but you have to make sure that cheese is melted inside because, all right. So sometimes, tell me if this is bad. Sometimes I toast the bread a little bit so it's hot.
Yeah.
Then I put the cheese in between the bread, and then I put it on the.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say the microwave.
No, never. You can't. Can you tell everyone never to put my bread in the microwave? It's so fucking gross.
It is gross. Yeah. And you have to have a melty cheese. So I like cheddar in general, but I don't prefer it on a grilled cheese because it gets a little bit greasy and oily. So I like super, super melty grilled cheese. Here in Seattle, we have a cheese maker called Beecher's, and they're in the airport too. If you're ever passing through, they make the absolute best grilled cheese. You think it's so simple, you could just make it at home, and you can, but they're the ones that make it better than you can make at home. So if you're ever in the Seattle airport, go to Beecher's Cheese and
how do you spell it?
Grilled cheese. Beechers.
Okay, and what kind of cheese? As you may or may not know, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, it was a fucking American cheese.
Yes. That's not so bad, though, because it makes it super gooey. I think using a good cheese and then just bloop, slip one American cheese slice in there, I don't think that's so bad.
Yeah. I like Swiss.
Swiss is good. I like Havarti because it's really, really melty.
Oh, yeah.
Ones that don't have that much flavor that you normally want flavor from, it's who cares?
Munster.
You want texture.
Right. Munster is good, too.
Ooh, Munster is good, too.
I was obsessed with Munster cheese in my 20s, and then I went on to smelly cheeses. Okay. And then the last thing you want before is it tagliatelle with bolognese and parmesan.
Oh God. It's so hard to make this list though. And that's why I feel for the people on my show because I only let them pick one meal. And my personal last meal is like, I have like 20 things in my mind, but I've narrowed it down to these 3.
Right.
Yeah. Homemade pasta. Once you start making your own, you can't go back. I mean, I do.
Is that true? It's hard, right?
It's
to make
not
the own
hard.
Pasta?
No, I feel like that's something that everybody thinks, and it's not hard. You just have to get used to it for it to kind of go faster. But the dough, all the dough is flour and water. That's it. Like, it's not hard.
And you put it in the thing.
You put it in the thing, and you sit on it, and you make it flat, and yeah, it's good. But
okay,
yeah, that is the best.
I love that. Your parents got divorced. How old were you when they got divorced?
39.
Okay, so how long do you I'm 57. So
I'm 40.
Fuck you. Anyway, so your parents got divorced last year.
Yes.
And this year they got remarried to each other. What the
each other.
fuck?
This is so crazy. So for a lot of my life since high school, I always thought that my parents should get divorced.
Right. Why? Because they fought?
Yeah, they fought and they just, I'm not going to get into it on here out of the respect for them.
I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
But I always was like kind of trying to help my mom get a divorce. So in the past, maybe 5 or 6 years, they separated a few times and my dad would move out and buy a condo. And then like 2 days later, they would change their mind. And he's like, give him a condo back. One of them was a condo in Redondo. And I was like, you have to stay apart. Because he bought
he'd buy a condo and then change his mind. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And he bought the condo in Redondo, which I was like, this is the best. And then he gave it back. So then maybe it was a year and a half ago now, but it was like not that long ago. They finally got a divorce. And I didn't think they were ever going to actually do it. So they get a divorce. And then I tell my mom, I can't be in the middle of this anymore. Like, that's created so many problems for us. Right. Don't tell me any more about what's going on with you guys. Enough. So every once in a while, she would hint like that they're hanging out. Oh, your father and I were dating. And I'm like, what does that mean? You're dating when you gross. Like, it just grossed me out.
Right.
So then she was visiting me in December and we were at a restaurant and it was like moments before we were going to drive to the airport. She said, I know that you don't like to hear what's going on with your father and I, but we went to Vegas a few months ago and we got married.
No fucking way. Were they living with each other?
They were living together again.
Oh, so they love each other. Like this, because you grew up in the Bay Area, you don't realize like Jews fight with each other. There's passion and fighting and acrimony, but there's love underneath all of that.
Well, they
must really love each other.
Well, my mom said it's a very romantic thing. She said, we are used to each other. Which, when I don't know what it's like to be married 40 something years and to be 70 years old and suddenly be like, who's going to take care of me? I think they were kind of scared. So I was about to get really upset because I always would get upset about the relationship. And then she showed me the picture, which I'm going to text this to you when we get off the phone.
Oh, I can't wait.
She sends me this picture of them on their wedding day in Vegas and they're wearing matching tuxedo t-shirts and jeans. And it was so
cute
and so funny that it actually was this message to me. It kind of shook me out of my mind space to be like, stop taking everything so seriously. Why don't you make this funny in your mind? Then you wouldn't be so mad about it. Like, it was actually like a lightning bolt hit me. And I was like, I needed to see this ridiculous picture to understand it's none of my business.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay. First of all, I find you quite entertaining.
You too.
You're like really fun. I think we would be friends.
I do too. Can I come to the COD? I've never been to Cape Cod.
Oh my God. You have to come here. Like, the food here is fucking unbelievable.
Does anyone call it the COD, or was that the way to show that I'm not from there?
That would be a way to show that you're not from here. But Anthony Bourdain started here as a dishwasher.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, this is where he started. But the food here is fucking amazing. You should come.
Okay, I'll come and we'll watch Mary Tyler Moore all damn day.
I
and then
have
we'll
the
go get
whole
oysters.
season downstairs.
You do?
I mean, I have all. You have to. Can you promise me you'll watch it?
Yes, 100% this weekend. I
Swear?
will watch. I swear.
And you'll
It's-
text me? And
Yes.
you'll text me.
Yes, pinky swear.
Okay.
Pinky swear. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I ask my guests 2 questions. Number 1, we're very pro mental health.
Yes.
I suffer from anxiety, depression, ADD, and multiple other my grandparents were cousin diseases.
Mine were too.
They were second
Yes.
cousins. My
Great grandparents.
What the fuck? These Jews and the
I
inbreed.
know.
Anyway, so
We figured it out when I was in Sunday school and I had to do a family tree as a Sunday school project and we were filling it out and my mom and I said, why do these people have the same last name?
Last name, yes. That's what happened with that. It's Goldberger, Greenbaum, Goldberger, Gold.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Oh my God.
Okay. So what do you do mental health wise? Are you on antidepressants? Have you ever been on? We try to break the stigma here. So by the way, to all my listeners, I just got off the Paxil. I know everyone was hearing about my Paxil. I gained all this weight from Paxil and now I'm on Luvox and I'm feeling okay so far. But do you do any antidepressants? Do you meditate? What do you do?
I go to therapy every other week.
Me too.
Yes. And I found this therapist that I love. And it's, you don't know, like you go see someone, it's like, how do you find your person? You just go.
Right.
And I've had several therapists that I liked, but it was like, you think you like something and then you find the one you're like, just about anything.
Yeah.
And I'd always gone to women and now I go to a man and I'm so fascinated to know if there's a difference because I tried to like do a survey online with my friends, like who goes to a woman, who goes to a man, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I wonder if someone has done a big wide
That's
survey
interesting.
to know.
But
But
is he straight?
he is straight and he's married and we take our shoes off, which it's optional, but I'm into it. We
my
take our
God.
shoes off
Right.
and we hug at the end and I fucking love him. He's so great. So that is
Does he get a hard on at the end when you hug him?
every time.
Really? And do you have to blow him at the end as well?
I do. I guess it's not really therapy.
That's normal.
It's different than therapy, but yeah. And he pays me at the end. So I don't really know.
That's great.
Yeah, it's good. It's a side hustle.
That's hilarious. Okay.
And when I
Oh,
told
I'm
my mom about like the hugging and stuff, she was like, I don't know about this. This is very, like, some people don't like to, they don't get it, but
Right,
it's
right,
fine.
right.
It's good. It's good.
Okay. Whatever works for you,
Yeah.
Elise is a therapist, so
Oh, really?
I wonder if she ever hugged. It's interesting. I'm going to ask her. All right. That's all right. And the second question is, the podcast is called Kill Me Now because basically I say kill me now about 100 times a day because I fucking and it's like I'm my mother's daughter and my father's daughter and I just get aggravated a lot because people are fucking stupid. So what pisses you off more than anything, like makes you fucking crazy? Like that you fucking, it could be anything. Like I know one thing, I probably have said this before. When I'm walking down the street to go somewhere and someone is walking in front of me looking at their phone and walking 5 fucking miles per 24 hour. I mean, like I can't. So what pisses you off more than anything?
Okay, first of all, I have to say this goes back to our conversation at the beginning, talking about unorthodox podcasts and like things I
Right.
didn't know were Jewish,
Right.
because I've never dated a Jew and I feel like I'm always the fetchy one and that I
Right.
always feel like there's something wrong with me, but I think that I'm just a Jew and that's why shit bothers me all the time too. This
Right.
is making me feel like I'm not crazy and I'm just normal.
But it's because we notice everything. That's the
Yes.
problem. Like it's a
Yes.
fucking like when you're in the arts, you notice things more than other people. You pay attention to stupid shit and then it fucking aggravates you.
You're so right. Okay, I don't know. One of the things that bugs me the most, and I don't know if it's like chicken or the egg because of what I do for a living or if because what I do made me this way or what. But I hate when people are telling a story and they add in all the details that don't matter and are very boring. So it's like, just tell the story and just tell all the good parts. I don't need to hear
Right.
like if you're telling me like about a story that you went somewhere, I don't need to hear about the fucking traffic on the way there. I don't need to hear about,
right.
unless you're a good storyteller and it's there for a reason and you're telling it in a funny way. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is
because you tell stories for a living.
Exactly.
So that I could see that.
Yes. But that's why I don't know if it's that's because of what I do or that's why I'm good at what I do. But that really bothers me. And also
I think
because
it's a combo.
I'm a West Coast person, I get like my crotchety stuff is like, I hate when people accidentally put recycling in the garbage. Like that shit makes me mad. I get mad about environmental
I get that
stuff.
Too. Yeah. Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
First of all, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You're such a delight and a bright spot in this fucking. How are you dealing with the corona?
You know, I feel like I'm not having the same experience as everyone else because I'm still going into work. And so I have a normalcy that a lot of people don't, where I'm going into work and I'm seeing my coworkers and I'm coming home. So I'm not stuck at home all day.
Are you separated from because you're in Seattle. So it's like,
it's kind of
Washington State was
the first
beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you 6 feet away from them? Are you guys just like, forget it? We probably had it. What
we're just wiping everything down. I mean, that's like what we're doing. Yeah. I think everyone's just trying to be as careful as they can. But I mean, you know, in the studio, you are as close as the microphones are to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know anyone who's gotten it?
No, I don't. I have some friends who got tested, but nobody's had it yet. And it's just kind of like a weird time. It seems like all these people are just getting other kinds of sick right now. And
I'm really
flu.
sick and I have like a cough and a mucus and I'm on antibiotics, and then like every time I cough I'm like, no, it's a dry cough. You're like, it's awful.
I know. Yeah, it's a weird time right now. It's super weird. I was thinking that I should start writing in my journal again because I don't do that, but I did most of my life.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, because I thought
just because we should document what
exactly.
The fuck? Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, like if you found someone's journal from 1918 and they were talking about that, like it'd be so interesting. I'm trying to create content for the next generation to read.
Right.
You know?
Right. So you're on the radio, like on a lot of different shows. Is that correct?
Yes, but all on the same radio station. So it's Cairo Radio.
On the Ron and Don show.
That show actually ended a year ago, but
you were on the Ron and Don show.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Judy.
It's
I do research. I read all these articles, and then, and that came up several times, the Ron and Don show.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, I'll put. All right, so go ahead. So tell us where.
I was on that for 9 years, so you're forgiven. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
So the podcast is Your Last Meal Podcast, and you can find it everywhere like Stitcher and Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or you can go to yourlastmealpodcast.com, Your Last Meal Podcast on Instagram, all that stuff. And then with the radio station, it's Cairo Radio, and my name's Rachel Belle, Belle. So if you Google that, all kinds of stuff will come up. I have a webpage, but it's long.
And what about Twitter, Instagram, all that shit?
Yeah, I'm Rachel Belle on Twitter, and then I have my own website that has all this stuff. It's hellorachelbelle.com.
I know, it's a great website. It's a great website, everyone.
Thank you.
I really want to meet you when I come to Seattle.
Yes, please.
No, can we hang? Seriously.
Yes.
And can we go out for dinner?
Yeah. Maybe we'll have a slumber party. I don't know.
I love that.
And then, when I come back to New York, you, me, and Isaac, we should hang out.
I love my Isaac.
Woo, woo.
Mizrahi. Woo! 3 Jews. Rachel, you're the best. I can't thank you enough for being on during this corona. Please be safe.
I will. Remind me, I already forgot your Hebrew Yiddish name.
Yoel Ichana.
How did I forget that?
I know. I don't. And I think I'm going to be on your podcast at some point.
You are.
Correct?
Yeah, we're going to tape. We're going to tape very soon.
It's such an honor. You know, you've had some amazing guests, and what a great idea. And I'm so happy for your success and your parents' marriage, and that you have a boyfriend.
Which marriage? Which one? The first? The second?
One.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, I'm glad you have a boyfriend and a cat, and you're just adorable. So,
I love you, jealous Judy.
Thank you so much for listening to part 2 of Kill Me Now with Rachel Belle. If you like the show, which how can you not, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more people find my amazing podcast. 5 stars only, please. Thank you very much. If you purchase tickets for any of my upcoming events and shows, please refer to your point of purchase for any updates on rescheduling or refunds. As we all know, this is a very uncertain time, and I hope all my listeners are safe and well. And if you're sick, I'm sending you only good, positive thoughts. And while you're social distancing, washing your hands, getting sick of your family, fighting with your spouse, wanting to kill your kids, take this time, all this extra time you have to listen to the entire backlog of amazing interviews that I have done on Kill Me Now. You can also take a listen to my comedy albums, Conduct Unbecoming, Kill Me Now, and Judith's Roommate Had a Baby. That was my mother. You can find all of this on judygold.com. I'm thinking of all of you. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for updates, for nasty comments about Trump, to laugh maybe. I'm at Judy Gold, as you know, JEWDYGOLD, like Jew Gold. Anyway, I'm thinking of all of you. Thank you for listening. And as we always say, so long!
And everything was wonderful. I'll see you soon. Thank you for the visit. So long.